Hello, this is Sambava reporting live from Half Moon Bay, California. It's a windy day here on the beach, and I wanted to spend it together talking about enlightenment. So, enlightenment, big word, and I read something recently from a great master that broke it down into some digestible chunks that I wanted to share with you today while we're here at the ocean. And what this great master said is they differentiated between three states on the way to enlightenment. The first state was a state he called illumination. And he likened illumination to taking a dunk in the ocean. You have a swim, you're there for 5 minutes, you're in for an hour, your hands are getting kind of pruny, but for that period of time, you immerse yourself in this experience of light and you fully experience the ocean. Oftentimes this comes unexpectedly. Sometimes it could come in a meditation, but it's not something so much you can force, but it's something that through grace, you find yourself in this experience of illumination. You put yourself in the airstream of illumination. And this is also something that a teacher can do for you. So I was very fortunate to have a meditation teacher who knew a great spot by the ocean and could take people there whenever he felt like it. But this experience of illumination is these experiences that we have on our meditation path that show us that there's a light and there's an all-encompassing light. But like any good experience in the ocean, at some point you get out of the ocean. And these experiences, they fade. They change into something else. We got to go back to work. We got to feed the dog. Whatever the next thing we have to do in our life. So the illumination's there, maybe for a few minutes, maybe for a few hours, maybe for a few days. But eventually, you will come out of that state and back into your regular state. Probably a little bit different, but fundamentally back to normal, so to speak. Which leads to the second stage. And for many practitioners, after many experiences of illumination, but sometimes just totally randomly, they will maybe encounter a state that he called liberation. And this master said, in liberation, you have access to that experience of the ocean at all times. You can go to the ocean at will, in your mind, in your experience. So whether you are physically at the ocean in meditation, you obviously experience the ocean, but even if you're sitting in traffic or sitting at your office or walking your dog, there is some part of you that is connected to that experience of ocean, and you can recall and bring yourself and immerse yourself in that experience whenever you want. So as compared to illumination, which comes and goes, you might have a nice distant memory of it. Liberation, he said, is at-will command of ocean. And even in your highest highs, your lowest lows, your excitement, your boredom, some part of you is connected at all points to that experience of the ocean, of that light. And that might be a very small speck. It might be a very immersive experience. There's a spectrum to these things. But true liberation, this master said, is the experience of ocean at all times. Now, the third state, which I found to be the most interested, was liberation is great. The ocean is huge. It feels vast. It feels never ending. But even in the experience of ocean, which covers 70% of the Earth's surface, there is eventually a limit to the ocean. So even though it's vast, even though it feels endless, even though from the perspective of a human, it goes on forever, and you can experience new parts of the ocean your entire life and not see it all, there is still a sense of a finite state, even within liberation. And I found that very interesting, which led this master to the third state, which he called self-realization or enlightenment. Call it what you will. But this master said, enlightenment, self-realization, isn't just the experience of the ocean, although you get that too. You have to pass through the ocean on your way to get there. This master said there's something beyond the ocean, beyond that finite state. It's the space where everything comes from, where everything goes to, the engine of the universe. Call it what you will. It's indescribable, but that there's a state even beyond liberation, even beyond what feels like infiniteness of the ocean. There's a space beyond the void, infinity, that once you touch that space, it said you don't come back. So as compared to this experience of the ocean, which we can experience at will, which we are in, you could say, a state of ocean at all times, self-realization goes beyond. And there's something very beautiful about it. So I was inspired to share this with you today and experience this beautiful place. Half Moon Bay, the ocean here, is a very strong place of power, and it has a very visceral energy to it. So when we meditate here together, we experience a place of power, and the ocean helps us stop our thoughts. The wind helps us stop our thoughts. There's this force that we become a force of nature with this place when we meditate here. So we're going to meditate here for 3 songs. 1 song on the navel chakra, 1 song on the heart chakra, and 1 song on the third eye chakra. And to follow along, you just need to sit up straight, bring your focus to each of the chakras, and if thoughts come up, you don't analyze them, you simply let them go and bring your focus back to the chakra. And the energy of this place will come through the video, through Buddhist magic, and it will also help you stop your thoughts. That's why we meditate here together. And I can bring you to a place like this, even sitting at home. So we're going to do that together for 3 songs. We're going to listen to 3 songs from the Vayu Meditation Golden album, which is infused with the dimensions of gold light. So as we experience the light, the ocean in our meditation, flowing through the camera right to you, you're going to also connect to the gold light. So if you experience visually gold light in your meditation, that might happen. But you might be a kinesthetic meditator, and you just might feel a lightness of spirit. And that's why we do meditation, because it takes us ever so slightly, sometimes in huge leaps and bounds, towards the experiences of illumination, the experiences of liberation, the experiences of self-realization and light. And we sample a bit of the ocean each time we do that. So we'll do that together. We'll meditate for about 15 minutes and follow along. I'll call out each of the chakras along the way and just immerse yourself in this beauty place of Half Moon Bay. And let's sit up nice and straight. And let's begin. focus to the heart. focus to the third eye. nice. The end of our meditation, we always bow. Just a gesture of humility back to the universe, back to the ocean. Yeah, it's good. The meditation is our friend, just like the ocean is our friend. And it's very precious to be able to spend moments like this together. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed your experience of the ocean. From here, at home to you, this is Simbaba and Half Moon Bay, wishing you a wonderful day.